The air in the old apartment complex was heavy, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. The dim hallways stretched on, their wooden floors creaking with every step, no matter how lightly you tread. The faint scent of something ancient and forgotten lingered, a smell that no amount of cleaning could erase. It was a place that seemed to hold on to the past, as if the echoes of what once was refused to fade away. My mom always said the building had a strange atmosphere, one that made the hairs on the back of your neck stand on end. She was a strong Christian woman, not one to believe in ghosts or spirits, but this story, she swore, was real. I was just a baby when it happened, too young to remember, but the way my mom told it, her voice dropping to a whisper, her eyes darting around the room like she expected something to appear, it made me feel like I had lived it myself. She had moved into the apartment when I was about 4, a run-down building in Elkins, West Virginia, that had once been a school before it was converted into apartments. It was an old, smelly place, but it was all we could afford at the time. My mom did her best to make it feel like home, but there was always something off about it, something she couldn't quite put her finger on. One night, after putting me to bed, she went to clean my playroom before going to sleep herself. It was just a normal night, nothing out of the ordinary, until she woke up at 6 in the morning to the sound of my voice. She said I was giggling, talking in that way little kids do when they're having a conversation with someone who isn't there. She followed my voice down the hall, her heart pounding harder with every step, and when she reached my playroom, she froze. I was sitting in the middle of the room, surrounded by chaos. My toy boxes were overturned, my stuffed animals, scattered like a storm had swept through. I was staring at the wall, laughing and talking to someone only I could see. My mom, still groggy from sleep, asked me who I was talking to. Without hesitation, I pointed to the empty corner of the room and said, "The man in the suit." A chill ran through my mom's body. She knew those toy boxes were too heavy for me to overturn on my own. There was no logical explanation for how the room had ended up in such a state. She didn't want to scare me, so she just picked me up and carried me out of the room. Days later, she casually mentioned the incident to the landlord, not expecting much of a reaction. But the moment she brought it up, the landlord's face went pale. That was when she learned the truth. Years ago, a man had passed away in that very apartment, and every time the landlord had seen him in her dreams or visions, he was always wearing a suit. Years later, we moved to a small town called Junior. It was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, a blink-and-you'll-miss-it town nestled next to a river. My mom and dad had found a beautiful white house where they planned to raise me and my 2 little sisters. It was supposed to be a fresh start, but the past has a way of following you. One summer, my uncle came to stay with us for a while. The house was big, but he insisted on sleeping on the enclosed front porch, saying he liked the fresh air. One morning around 3 a.m., he was woken by the sound of a child's laughter. At first, he thought one of us girls had snuck outside to play on the swing set. Annoyed, he rushed outside, ready to scold us and send us back inside. But when he rounded the corner of the house, there was no one there. The swing was moving, creaking softly in the still night air. The sand beneath it had footprints, small, childlike footprints. His heart pounded in his chest as he ran back inside, expecting to find one of us missing. But when he checked our beds, we were all there, sleeping soundly. The next morning, when he told us what had happened, we just laughed it off. Maybe some neighborhood kid had wandered over in the middle of the night. It was weird, sure, but not impossible. We moved on, not thinking much of it, until it happened again. One night I woke up to a strange noise outside. Rubbing my sleepy eyes, I got out of bed and walked to the window. That's when I saw her, a little girl with blonde hair playing on the swings. Something about her seemed off. Her movements were slow, almost unnatural. I turned to wake my dad, whispering urgently that there was a girl outside. He grumbled, but got up and followed me to the window. But when we looked again, she was gone. The swing was still moving. The footprint still there. That was the last time I saw her. I hoped, wherever she was, that she had found peace. But the strangest, most terrifying thing happened a year later. My dad was working under the house, fixing a busted water pipe, when he found something buried in the dirt. It was an old AA coin, the kind given for sobriety. This one had a large 12 engraved on it. I thought it was the coolest thing and begged my dad to let me keep it. He handed it to me with a chuckle, and I placed it in a small pottery cup I had made, taking care to keep it safe. Weeks passed and I forgot about the coin. Then one night I woke up to something staring at me. My breath caught in my throat. A woman stood at the end of my bed, her face partially obscured by a thin veil. She wore a long, pale blue dress, the kind women used to wear in another time. She tilted her head and suddenly I felt like I couldn't breathe. Panic surged through me. I yanked my blanket up over my mouth, my heart slamming against my ribs. Then, without warning, she lunged at me. I screamed, throwing the blanket over my head, bracing for something, anything, but there was nothing. No impact, no sound, just the deafening silence of my own fear. My dad burst into my room, flipping on the lights, his voice sharp with worry. My mom was right behind him. Tears streamed down my face as I tried to explain what I had seen. My dad dismissed it as a bad dream, but my mom sat on the edge of my bed, rubbing my leg, saying nothing. The next morning I stretched out my legs, wincing at a sharp pain. Confused, I threw back the covers and gasped. My skin was marked with 2 deep purple handprints. I screamed for my dad, who came running in, his face turning white when he saw them. My mom took a disposable camera and snapped pictures, then just sat there holding me. Days later, I remembered the coin. Determined to get rid of it, I went to grab it from the pottery cup. But when I looked inside, it was gone. Some people look at me like I'm crazy when I tell this story. I get it. It sounds unbelievable. But I remember every detail. Those footprints in the sand, the woman's face, the weight of her stare. I don't know if you believe in the paranormal, but I do. And whether spirits are here for a reason or just lost between worlds, I pray that when I pass, I don't end up like them. The memories of that house still haunt me, creeping into my thoughts at the most unexpected moments, sending a shiver down my spine every time I recall them. The man in the suit, the little girl on the swings, the woman in the pale blue dress. They all felt so real, so present, as if they were reaching out from another world, trying to make contact. I don't know why they chose us, why they decided to reveal themselves to my family, but I do know that their presence left an indelible mark on all of us. My mom, who had always been so skeptical of the paranormal, became a believer after that. She would often talk about the things she had seen and heard, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and awe. My dad, on the other hand, tried to brush it off, to rationalize it away, but even he couldn't deny the strange occurrences that seemed to follow us wherever we went. As for me, I was left with a deep sense of unease, a feeling that there was more to this world than what we could see and touch. I often wonder about the woman in the pale blue dress. Who was she? What was her story? And why did she choose to reveal herself to me? The handprints on my legs were a stark reminder of her presence, a physical manifestation of something that defied explanation. I tried to convince myself that it was just a dream, that my mind had conjured up the image of the woman and the sensation of her hands on my skin. But deep down, I knew better. I knew that what I had experienced was real, that it was something beyond the realm of the ordinary. The coin, too, was a mystery. Where had it come from? And why had it disappeared? I couldn't shake the feeling that it was somehow connected to the woman, that it was a piece of her story, a clue to her identity. But without the coin, without any tangible evidence, I was left with nothing but questions and a lingering sense of dread. As the years passed, the memories of that house began to fade, but they never completely disappeared. They would resurface at the most unexpected moments, triggered by a sound, a smell, or a fleeting image. And when they did, I would feel that same chill run down my spine, that same sense of unease that had gripped me all those years ago. I don't know if the spirits that haunted us were ever able to find peace. I don't know if they were able to move on, to leave this world behind and find whatever it was they were searching for, but I do know that their presence changed me, that it left me with a profound sense of the unknown, a belief that there is more to this world than what we can see and touch. And so, I continue to tell this story, to share it with anyone who will listen, not because I want to scare them, but because I want them to understand. To understand that there are things in this world that defy explanation, that there are mysteries that may never be solved, and to understand that sometimes the past has a way of following you, of reaching out from the shadows and reminding you that it's still there, waiting, watching, and wondering if you'll ever be able to let it go.